Welcome back. Now for what's tipping the scales of justice. We're heading into the second phase of Natalie Cochran's case. She was convicted of the first-degree murder of her husband, Michael.
We, the jury on the issues, joined unanimously find the following. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree.
Now the trial enters into what's known in West Virginia as the mercy phase, where the jury will make a recommendation whether Cochran will serve a life sentence with or without parole. Her parents and her kids are expected to speak on her behalf, and so we're wondering what other testimony may tip the scales. Want to invite on now a very special guest to talk about what was offered to Natalie Cochran prior to going to trial. And that was a plea deal. Want to welcome in the lead prosecutor on the case, Mr. Tom Truman. Tom, good morning to you. And might I just start by saying congratulations on a job well done and a case very well tried by you and your colleagues.
That's very kind of you to say. Thank you. And good morning to you.
Oh, certainly. Thank you. Tom, may I start with the plea offer that Natalie Cochran was not so smart to reject? What was that, please?
It's what you might call a Chinese restaurant menu, one from column A, one from column B. And it was basically geared to the time she would have to serve to become parole eligible. So one option was that with an effective sentence date of September 30th of 19, which is when she went on federal home incarceration, she would plead to the indictment, which would mean she'd be eligible for parole 15 years from that date. The second option was a plea to second-degree murder, which under the statute is a determiner, a single number between 10 and 40. And the defendant would have to serve 10 years to be parole eligible. But for that, she didn't get any credit for home incarceration time. It would be the date she reported to the Bureau of Prisons, which was May of 2021.
I see. Okay. Tom, thank you for that. We know she's already doing time for the Ponzi scheme, and so many of us were looking forward to seeing you cross-examine her. When she would testify, we had gotten word that she would be, and then she was smart not to. Tell us, if you would, please, Tom, how you were preparing to cross her.
There was a mountain of electronic evidence, and it was text messages between the defendant and various people, including her husband. And the trail of deception she left provided us with that evidence, and we would have gone into a lot more detail than we did with Trooper Heinzman, who was our rebuttal witness. But basically, really on the fly, we converted what would have been questioning of her into questioning for Trooper Heinzman.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Thank you, Tom. Tell me, when we look forward to going back into the courtroom today and seeing what's presented, what is the state of West Virginia prepared to present to convince the jury to show her no mercy?
You will see some very strange court proceedings. This is an unusual procedure here. The judge is not even allowed to tell the jury what criteria they're to use. The jury is totally in charge and decides mercy or no mercy without any guidance. It's just whatever they decide. And so the testimony from the defense, I kind of have an idea of what they might say. But from our point of view, it'll be to show, this defendant does not deserve mercy because of her conduct before and after Michael Cochran's death.
Right. Tom, tell me, what was the most challenging part of this prosecution for you in proving that Natalie Cochran did in fact poison her husband Michael with the insulin?
I think there's no one thing I can point to other than it was a substantial file, about 70,000 pages. And Ashley Acord and I really didn't have a whole lot of time to digest all that. We did the best we could, and we presented the best case we could. But that was probably the biggest hurdle we faced. It was a lot of stuff to boil down make a presentable case. The original witness list for the state was 85 witnesses, and that was just totally unmanageable. So we pared it down to what we presented.
Sure, sure. I want to play a clip for you, please, Tom. This is from Natalie Cochran's defense lawyers yesterday speaking with Court TV and giving their reaction to the verdict.
I really have no idea what evidence this jury was listening to. I think that this is one of the cases where the defense, not having the burden of proof, proved its case probably beyond a shadow of a doubt as to how, when, what, and why.
Tom, what's your reaction to hearing that?
Spoken like a true defense attorney, and Matthew Victor is an extremely good defense attorney. But it's kind of a matter of, let's watch the birds and look over there, because the focus of the case from the state's perspective was to really reverse engineer it from the time that Michael was taken to Raleigh General Hospital and go backwards. And the defense could never account for why this patient's blood glucose level in a non-diabetic was 21. How did they account for that? They didn't. And I thought that was fatal to the defense case.
Right. It sure was. It sure proved to be with your jury. Tom, I know you're a busy guy. We're going to have to let you get going. But before we do, is there anything you're able to share with our viewers who are just fascinated with trials, the court system? And we often say that what we see presented at trial in front of the Court TV cameras isn't the whole story. Oftentimes, prosecutors can't bring in certain things, or the jury can't know about certain things for certain reasons. Is there anything you could share with us about this case that we may not otherwise know?
You know, I would love to stand here and tell you, here's the real backstory, but there really wasn't one. We presented probably every piece of relevant evidence that we could to prove her guilt. There was a suppressed fourth statement that she gave after she was incarcerated in the federal system, but all that was a lot of grousing and another version of what happened. I don't know if she couldn't keep track of what had happened, but we couldn't use that statement, and that's pretty much the only thing.
Okay, that's interesting. It's a little nugget. That's something, another statement of what occurred. According to defendant Natalie Cochran, who we're going to see here shortly. I want to say a big thank you to attorney Tom Truman, the Raleigh County, West Virginia prosecuting attorney. Thank you so much for your time and for the conversation this morning.
Thank you.
Take good care.